Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. So for today's card we're going to make a very simple, very clean cut card, but using a inlay technique which I love and have many videos on. So I am going to use the cloud from the June 2025 Spellbinders Club kit. That's the large die in the month. And I also have the Let's Celebrate Simon Says stamp set from one of the kits from many moons ago. So it's good to drag out all your old craft supplies and reuse them and find new uses for them. So I love doing that. So what I did was I cut out this solid piece of the die. And basically there's two pieces, there's two dies. There's the outline die, which is this, what creates the solid piece, which is what I'm sticking some double-sided tape to. And to the right of that is the piece that you would inlay with that outline die to create all the little intricate bits. So what I did was I cut out one solid piece and then used both dies together to cut out the more intricate die, which you can see at the right hand side there, which has got what looks like little rainbows on the clouds. Well, that's how I looked at it. That's what I saw when I saw them. But I think it's supposed to be like rolling clouds, you know, the puffiness of a cloud. So I cut both these pieces out in black. I think black with whether it's a pastel, which is the color-ish color theme that I went for today, either that with or with bright colors, I think works really well with black as a contrast. It would look really lovely with white as well, but I love the contrast with black. So all I'm doing is sticking some double-sided tape to the solid piece or the full piece, and then I'm going to lay the more intricate piece over the top. Now they'll line up straight, they'll line up together because they are essentially the same piece. It's just one has all the detail on it and one doesn't. I found the double-sided tape the easiest and quickest. You could use wet adhesive to do this, and that would work really well as well. So the next thing I did, which obviously I did off camera to save some time, is I used just the inner die, which creates the sort of the more intricate piece, and I just used the inner part of it to die cut all the little I suppose half moon sort of shapes in a variety of colors. So I've got a sort of pale peach sort of color, a pale pink, a deeper pink that's kind of got a slight purpley hint to it, and then a pale blue. And all I'm doing is inlaying each of these pieces into their little areas, but trying to keep the colors so that they're not the same colors not next to each other. If that made any sense. So one piece at a time. It is a little time consuming, but this is a small piece to do, so it's not that bad. Eventually I do tip all of it onto my desk because it's just easier to try and find the pieces that way. And so you'll see in a second, I'll just empty the whole lot out. It was also easier for me to see once I'd done that, like where those pieces were, because some of them, there's a couple of pieces that are very tiny, teeny tiny. And you'll see that in a second when I inlay it. So the inlay area looks bigger than the piece is, if that makes sense. So it was really difficult once I was faffing about in the tray. So I decided to dump it all out on my desk. That actually worked a lot better. Now, bearing in mind that I cut 4 different colors here, you could do the same thing 4 times and just keep creating like multiples of this. While you've got all the pieces there. I didn't do that. I know that's probably a bit of a waste of bit of paper, but you can see they're tiny pieces. They're not exactly, you know, there's not a lot of waste is what I'm saying. So this is where I decided to dump all of it out. It was just so much easier to see and to find the pieces by moving them on my desk rather than in the little tray. It just gave me a bit more space to do that. On top of that, the bigger pieces are slightly easier to work with anyway because they are bigger, so you can I could pick a lot of those up. But the tool that I'm using is it's actually meant for like nail art, I think, in like nail salons. I've had this thing for 1,000 years. And it basically has one end of the tool has this like black triangle, which is kind of it's got like a waxy sort of feel to it, and that just allows for enough tack to pick up little pieces and things and to flip them over so that you don't have to try and get your hands in there, because if anybody's like me, I've got like sausage fingers, so it's kind of tricky, especially if my nails are short. I can't really pick those pieces up. A lot of people use tweezers, like what are they called? I don't know what they're called, but they're like tweezers where you squeeze them to open them. I can't remember what they're called. A lot of people use those, and those are really handy too. I've got a pair of those from a million years ago as well. So this little tool is really handy for this kind of thing because there's lots of little pieces and it makes it handy to just grab it. Like I say, it's a tack that it's tacky. In fact, when you feel it, it doesn't feel like anything. It feels a bit waxy, but when you go to pick something up, it's got that slight tack to it, enough to pick up the piece, so you can pop it in place. The other end of the tool has just, it looks almost like a tiny little tube almost, but that's really handy just to move. Once you've put something in place, you could use the other end of the tool to move something in place. If say you're using a wet adhesive on something and you want to maneuver it just a little bit before it really starts to stick, you could use that to help, kind of like a skinny finger to try and help move things into place. So yeah, that's my version of that. A skinny finger, but it helps. The same with the tweezers, they help as like an extra pair of hands almost. So it's really, really, really handy. So we've almost got the whole thing done. I decided that these two pieces were too close to each other, as in the colors, so I actually take it out and I find a different color to go in there. There will be one of each of these pieces in each of the colors, so you should have a good enough variety of pieces to put them where they're meant to be and in place, if that makes sense. so just trying to find the next. I think there's 4 pieces left, and this bit did go quite quickly. I just needed to find the right one for this bottom one. For some reason I could not find it for looking, and there it is. And then the last 3 pieces, I just looked at the colors that I already had in place, and then tried to just vary that slightly. So you'll see here, I think I changed my mind there because that's the same colors, a couple of the others that are sat sort of right next to it. So another of the sort of more reddy purple color. And I think I use a blue one here. It's funny when I do these voiceovers, I know I haven't done these for a while, but when I do these voiceovers, I never have the card or project right in front of me, which I really should, because it would be handy. So there you have it. There's the little, I don't know, I'm calling it my rainbow cloud. All done. I just kind of pressed them down there just to make sure they're sort of adhering to the cardstock's here, adhering to the double-sided tape underneath. Like I say, you can use wet adhesive, that would hold it even better. So all I'm going to do now, and this is how tricky this card gets, I have a panel that I believe is 4 by 5 1/4, or thereabout. It might be slightly smaller than that. I can't remember what size my actual card is, but it's about a normal A2 size-ish card. So take it as 4 1/4, 4 by 5 1/4. And all I'm doing is using my Simon Says stamp T-square ruler. This is the little 6-inch one. It's really handy for things like this. I've lined up where I wanted my cloud, and I've lined up roughly where I want my sentiment to go, and I'm going to just use that as a guide to get it as straight as possible on this panel. That's where the T-square rules are very handy. So the next thing to do is, now I've got my sentiment, is I'm going to simply stick with some double-sided adhesive my little cloud, rainbow cloud, onto the card just above the sentiment and somewhat in the middle of it, so that it's kind of all lined up. Now I'm watching this back to do the voiceover. I suddenly realized I don't even know if I really got it centered from left to right, but I got it straight for once. So yeah, that'll do. So there you go, guys. And all I'm going to do now is stick this to a white. I went white on white, which I think is always a very classic kind of look. And again, I'm just going to use double-sided adhesive to stick this to the front of the card base, which, like I say, is a white card base. You could have one of the colors if you've got extra cards that you can use as a base. You could use the color that's in the rainbow cloud. You could use a black card base and just put a white panel inside as well, so that you've got some way to write once you get to send it out to someone. I am also making more birthday cards because I feel like I never have enough birthday cards. So you'll see a lot more of that on my channel. But I also love making other cards and things. And obviously Halloween and Christmas are coming up, so I've already started on Christmas stuff. So hey ho, pardon the pun. So there you go, guys. Very simple, clean inlay card. So yeah, give it a whirl. It's super easy to do, and they always look very effective. So if you want something fun to do, I would try this. So until next time, guys, bye for now.